When you leave them when you remove them worries, if you deal with them worries, you deal with that trauma, you deal with, suddenly your connection becomes stronger, and that's what's happened with me. Because as a healer, I have to self heal. I have to. You've got no choice. You have to self heal. If you want to be a healer, you have to self heal. You've got to. It's part of the process, and that's what I've done. Stuff that's been a trauma to me in the past. I've revisited it till I got to the point where it was no longer a trauma. And even grief down to my mother, that is greatly reduced now because made a presence known to me to show me that she was still around, so I didn't have to grieve for her because she's still here, and stuff like that. And that's my view on it. Maybe not be everyone's, but that's how I perceive it. I call them traps, like worries. I call it traps. That's what I call it. Traps for your spiritual energy.
Yeah.
And if you can not let it happen, you become a better person overall. That's just my philosophy on it. That's why I tend to look at it black and white,
I see it more as a process too, though, because that's one thing that a lot of people don't want to admit is the fact that these emotions that are freaking dragging you down is a part of the process that you should have followed through with instead of ignoring them like they weren't there. You know what I mean? Like if you're riddled with guilt and shame, then there's a reason why you're riddled with guilt and shame. It's something that you need to take care of, because if you don't, it's just going to rot away at you. Like me and Bob Dove were talking the other day about Zoroastrianism, and she asked me what my take on it was. And when it comes to Zoroastrianism, they don't believe that freaking good overpowers evil. They believe that they have equal force. And you have the decision on which direction you want to take. If you want to go down a bad path and have bad things happen to you, that is strictly your responsibility. Nobody else to blame for it. You're the one that did it. Now, if you want a positive life where everything's good, then you'll go and you'll do this. You'll take this path. But there's no outside influence that tells you freaking that this persuaded you to do bad things. You know what I mean? And that's the way they believed it. It's all in your actions and how you're going to deal with these things. And I've found over and over again it's the same thing, over and over again. And when you were talking about control, I agree with you 100%. People freaking think that they have control when they really don't. You can try to control until freaking the cows come home, but you know what's something's always going to go wrong. You know?
Yeah.
It's like with Tom Hanks when he was stranded on that island. You know what I mean? They had that one scene in the movie where he climbed up to the top of that cliff and he was going to hang himself, and he even screwed that up. You know what I mean? So you got to think about it like that. It's there's control is like it's a fake reality. Like, you don't control anything. You may think you do, but you don't. You might manage, but you don't control. There's a lot of people who are good at managing things, but that doesn't mean they're in complete control of it. They're just able to manage well, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So
I was told by a psychologist once that the only thing you can control are your own thoughts and your own actions. Externally to your body, there is no control at all. But that's very frightening for some people.
Terrifies them.
Yeah.
It really does. It terrifies them because they've built their whole life on this control system that they've developed for themselves. And then when somebody comes along and says that they really don't have any control, and to the point where freaking manageability, everybody thinks that they manage well, but in reality, freaking everything's falling apart around them. And in their minds, though, everything's according to plan. You know what I mean? They don't realize that their life is going to crap until it finally goes to crap. But it takes that moment before they realize it. All the way to that point, though, they're in control. They got things going the way they want it to go. And then when shit hits the fan, oh my God, how'd that happen? Oh man, maybe it's because you weren't managing well. At least that's how it happened with me. So
I've noticed as well, certain situations in my life come round again. It's almost like I didn't handle it right the first time, so the same situation has come back again, and this has happened all throughout my life, and it's got the same players, but in a different way. So it's the same personalities in a different body, and they come round again, and I'm going, how? I've sat on my own. I've gone, how the hell have I found myself in this position again? It happened before, and I handled it and come. So it obviously hasn't been handled correctly. So I handle it slightly different. All of a sudden, it all just dissolves and goes to nothing. Doesn't happen again. And a lot of situations I've found like that.
It's pretty
I
amazing.
think they call it. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was just responding. I said it's
I think
amazing.
they call it Mystic Spiral. I think they call it. So something like that. There's a name for it. I had a book by it years ago. That happens to me as well. Same thing. It's like we're living a nightmare almost. Sometimes it depends on the situation. It's like, yeah, I've been here before. Yeah, was this going to happen? This is going to happen. Yeah, here we are yet again.
Yeah.
And you just somehow you're meant to learn from it, but until you learn, as you said, the right thing, it's going to keep on happening. Once you have learned it, it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
I agree with that totally.
A quick explanation of a situation. My wife, she used to work for a big company in Romford, and near London, and then we decided to get married and have a little child. And the area was quite a rough area, so I said we're going to move out. So we moved back to where my wife was actually from. Now, the company where she was, everybody got made redundant, and some people moved to London, some people stayed where they were, and we moved into this area. And my wife said after about 2 months, let's try to get a food delivery just to see what it's like. So she's gone on the internet, and she's gone to one of the supermarkets, and she's ordered all the food, and somebody, and this was the weirdest feeling, the delivery guy turned up at the front door, and it was a guy she used to work with in her past job. And she went, oh, that's weird. What's that? He didn't even get made redundant. He went to the new place. So she started talking with me, and he said, no, I didn't like it. He said, so I left, and I'm just doing this now. And I went, what's the chances of that happening? That's a very big synchronistic event. So I said, I don't know what we're supposed to make of that, but it was put in front of us to show us something. And she thinks I'm weird anyway because of the way I talk now. So
every time you guys get into this conversation, there's one thing that nobody ever talks about, and I wanted to bring it up. What do you guys think about deja vu?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of that, and in my research wanders, I've come across situations where hang on, piece of research. There was a guy wanted to look into deja vu and how mediums work, and he put 2 screens, this is on the internet somewhere, 2 screens in front of people and flashed pictures up on the screen, and it was like, a nice green meadow, and he wired them up to like a lie detector, so it measured the moisture of the skin. Basically, it was giving him an advance warning, an exact warning of when the fight or flight took over in that person's head. So he had electrodes on the head, one over the heart, measuring the heart, one around the lower belly or the upper belly, measuring the amount of times he was to breathe in a second. And what he found was he put loads of these pictures, nice fluffy bunnies, and then he put a horrific picture of a car accident with the body still in the car. And he sat the person down, and he showed them this, bump, 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 6 seconds. It was 6 seconds. 6 seconds before the horrific picture was shown on the screen, their fight or flight took over. It was almost as if their body knew what was coming. And he done this once and he got that answer. And then he done it hundreds of times and got the same answer. So the conclusion of that little test was everybody knows what's coming. It's just that we've been told to forget it and we ignore the cues. And I think this is tied in with deja vu.
Yeah, that's the one thing that always rings out, because like I've heard other people talking too, like whenever you have migraine headaches, there's a chance that freaking that had to do with what was it, astral beings, like at some point in another dimension you'd experienced it before.
Yeah.
And there was a how was it, like a crack in fabric of reality, and like when people have migraine headaches, usually that's because a memory that freaking was from that dimension is trying to creep into your brain, and it's interrupting your way of thinking. I've heard people talk about stuff like that and different theories, but it's pretty interesting when you do get into that, because like deja vu, when you say, man, didn't it happen already? And you can't think of it, the occasion whenever it happened, but freaking in your mind, I've done this before. It's not even a doubt in your mind. Look, I know I've done this. So that's why I wanted to mention it.
Well, this experiment went on a bit further. They were then looking to see why some people can actually get these feelings at a further distance. So it's like something will happen tomorrow and they can feel it today. And that was the last thing I heard of it. I've tried searching for it again and I can't come across the experiment anywhere. But I would like to know the outcome of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think deja vu is, you've experienced it before, but not always in this lifetime. Maybe you've experienced it in another lifetime and it just comes back and you think, oh, I remember walking in a town called Haverfordwest when I was a youngster, and I thought, I've been here before, and I'd never been here before, but I knew I've been here before. I know I've been here before. And I look back at pictures of it from the 50s, 40s, 50s, and I'm looking at it and I thought, oh yeah, that seems so familiar, you know what I mean? And yet I'd never been there before. Now I'm seeing these pictures, not at the time. So it does happen. Also had, once I was walking up the stairs where I used to live, and I looked across the landing. I was going up to tell my children off because they were fighting. I looked across the landing and I saw myself going into the room and telling them off. And I thought, hang on. And I walked up the stairs and I did the same thing literally 10 seconds later. I thought, what the hell is that about? And like a time slip almost, and I've experienced it like in the car. I'm listening to a song and all of a sudden it gets rewound. Oh, and it starts again. I thought, it's happening a lot recently. What the hell is that about? Stuff like that, and again, I don't know what it all means, but it means something, yeah, but I don't know what it means though. No, I don't know.